Okay, I have got 6:30, so I will call to order the Village Board of Trustees for August 5th of 2024. Tony's gonna lead us up. Please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You roll, Mary?
President Larson,
Present?
trustees Bannon,
Here.
Campbell,
Here.
Asmar,
Here.
Ward, present, Ziegler,
Here.
Service.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Was the meeting posted?
Meeting was posted as required by law.
Next, public participation. Okay, public participation allows citizens to be heard on any agenda and non-agenda item. The public may also comment during the public participation section of each item. The village board shall make no decisions or consideration of action of citizen comments for items not on the agenda, except to refer the matter to the village administrator for administrative consideration or to schedule the matter for board consideration at a later date. Is there anybody that would like to comment on a non-agenda item?
Pretty much. I have a couple of things, and the first one is I knew that our building inspector was going to be here tonight, so I have some questions for him. Out in Bell West, well, actually, it's Olson Baker subdivision. There's 3 properties that are built such that there is an egress door in the back that has nothing on it, like a balcony or a step, and there's people living in the house. So my question is how did they get an occupancy permit?
They have also have exit door from the garage, but they have a front door in the garage. They decided to not build their decks on a lot of these houses and they lock them. So they're permanently locked, can't use that door.
Even if they have children, the children can't open the door.
That's perfect.
Okay. The other thing is there are a couple of properties in which people are living in that aren't mowing their yards. Is that your purview or is that police departments?
Well, I must have a police department. They don't get it done, send a letter. Take care of it.
Lawn hair is under the purview of weed commissioner, and letters are sent out by the clerk's office. So.
Okay, because even the terraces in some of the areas haven't been mowed for weeks and it's starting to look trashy. The other one I have for the building inspector is there's a property on 221 East School Street. The front door is boarded up and there's 5 children in there and the garage doors have actually fallen off. Now, how can individuals live there? And it's a single mother who's nursing. And those kids are home alone a lot.
Familiar with that house?
It's right on 92 as you come into town.
What's the address again?
221 East School Street. Yeah, he did that too. It's a rental. Andy King owns that property. I didn't think you could have people living in there, especially children. You can look into it?
Yeah.
Please do. I would hate to see something happen to somebody. Thank you. All right, the next thing I want to address is kids on the dam. I saw 9, 10-year-olds that walk through that pile of weeds. They don't go up Ross Court and go down the walkway. They climb up there, get up on the spillway, and then get up through the top. And the unfortunate part of it is many times nobody can see them unless you're on Ross Court. So we have to find a way to get rid of all that crap because they pick and poke and mess around. And my concern is what happens when one pushes the other over the dam? And when I see that, I yell at them, but they don't do anything. Jerry Blaser
Have you
has,
contacted the police when you see it?
oh yeah, I go down, I walk down, I ring the doorbell, I knock on the door, nobody answers the door. I call them, nobody answers the phone, and I get the Dane County non-emergency number to call. I call them, and it rings and it rings and it rings and it rings and it rings. Nobody picks up. I can't find an officer anywhere in town. And Bill Eichelkraut, I haven't talked to Vicky for months. And generally when I see him, Vicky isn't working. I have never been in the police department ever because I can never get in. So yes, on numerous occasions. We
Can
have
I
to do
address
something.
that?
Sure.
About the last 4 months, Judy, I have been sitting in my office on a daily basis, and not once have I seen you come to the door. Not once have I seen your a phone call, because we do answer the phone when we were there. And we have made contact with several juveniles who have climbed up on the dam. We are trying to address that when we see it. But again, I've been in my office on a daily basis, almost daily basis, for the last 4 months, and not once have I seen you.
And I will say, Bill, I have been down there on numerous occasions. And after a while, if no one answers the door or picks up the phone, I figure, why bother? Because if you've done it for the last 4 times I was there, what made me think you were going to be there now?
So that one we can address. So
Okay,
that's the
please
next-
do.
Next, any other topics?
Yes. Wisconsin made the Wall Street Journal this weekend concerning housing prices and property taxes. We are the highest taxing state of all 50 states. And this has gotten to be a real issue. As a matter of fact, North Dakota people got together a referendum to abolish property taxes. And it's going to referendum in November. So, and I hear it all the time, our taxes are out of sight, our water and sewer are going up, everything's going up, and I am not making the kind of money that I can pay for necessities. And I asked them to come to the board meetings to be heard. I was here at the food pantry the other day, bringing some stuff to the food pantry. And I had a conversation with Karen Stremicus. In June, we had 30 households come to the food pantry. In July, it's now jumped to 54. And she said, and it's growing. So we're all trying to make sure the food pantry has food in it. they're guaranteed 1 pound of hamburger a week. For a family of 5, that doesn't go far. And we're not a big income community. People who work here don't get paid a hell of a lot of money. All I have to say. Thank you.
Gary?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but he wasn't at the last meeting where
Yes, I was.
I talked about the taxes.
Yeah, 2002. I actually.
Okay, I'm not gonna get in an argument with you.
No,
That's
but
not here for you,
I
okay?
used
The other thing
2002.
is, you go and complain to the school board.
Oh, they were here tonight. I assume that
No,
was
that's
it.
not what I asked you, but go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thanks, Terry. Does anybody else have any additional comments? Before Terry, I'll give you a couple more minutes, Terry.
Real quick, for the people that weren't here at the last meeting, I went from 2002 to 2022, 20 years. I looked at my village taxes, not my total taxes, my village taxes, taking in consideration inflation. My village taxes have gone up $50 during those 20 years. Inflation went up 76%. So yeah, the taxes went up, but
Thanks, Terry. Any additional comments? Public participation?
I want your taxes. Mine have gone up hundreds and hundreds.
Well, they've gone out, but he's saying without like considering inflation as well. Yeah. Yeah.
how much I pay out? Yeah.
Yeah. I would love your tax bill too, Terry.
Everybody would.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is consent agenda. So all items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, considered as the first item after approval of the consent agenda. This includes the July 15th Village Board meeting minutes, the July 2024 check register, and appointment of Jim Schmidt to emergency management.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Minutes, what?
Oh.
Minutes for July 15th.
Jim.
Check register. And the appointment of Jim Schmidt to the emergency management.
So motion by Deb, seconded by Gary. Any further discussion?
Tell me, is this an addition to staff or is this a replacement of staff?
This is just the consent agenda. We're just approving
Yeah,
previous.
I'm just wondering about when you're talking about placing him on.
Oh, this is a committee appointment. It's not
Okay,
compensated.
thank you.
It's literally a resident of Belleville that we're putting on the emergency management committee
Thank
so that we can address emergencies if something really, really bad happens. It's a great question. Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. He's a school district representative, so not necessarily.
And just replacing.
Yeah, so this is actually the former school administrator, Nate. Since he left, this is actually his replacement.
That's amazing.
This isn't compensated. So we've got a motion by Deb, seconded by Gary. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. So next, and we are going to move some things around after the public hearing for the park impact fees, just FYI for everybody, but we are going to go through presentations first. So first, I think Ellers is up, or do we want to do it? This order is fine, so Ellers, I think, is up. Do your dog and pony show about all the wonderful things you do for Belleville?
Oh, sure. I didn't prepare anything formal because we print enough stuff. But we're the municipal advisor to the village. We help with basically anything with a dollar sign next to it. Anytime we're engaged, we send a disclosure to staff that, should go to the board. That would disclose, our scope of services, any conflicts of interest, and the fees charged for that. So probably most recently, helping with the tax increment district number 3 amendment, helping with the note anticipation notes sale or sales tonight, other elements like that. Outside of that, I think it's just a lot of correspondence and communication with village staff as they have questions, and they probably see the most value out of that. You know, we don't charge by the hour for just general conversations, and our fees are fixed on that. Beyond that, in terms of the debt issuance and the tax increment district amendment, you know, we started doing a financial management plan process. I think that'll help maybe ask the question for at least the next 5 years, every time you do it, what the village tax portion of the tax bill will look like. We do a 5-year budget operationally and capital. We'll plan out future debt issuances, and then it's kind of tweak, rinse, repeat, and making sure that we're keeping up with your capital improvement program and identifying how you'd finance that throughout. So it's a better way to get prepared for execution. But I would say right now, I think as long as you guys keep doing that, I think you're going to kind of see those end results down the road in terms of how we get there. The other element being trying to improve the financial status of the village as well with that effort. Outside of that, obviously you rely on the other consultants or internal staff to kind of filter us that information.
Questions for Brian?
The regular member of the board has been. They said.
Well, I appreciate that he's been here to help us through a lot of the stuff that we do, because I know we've done like the tax increment district, like some of the, I'll say learning sessions have been very helpful, just to understand if we pull this lever, this is what happens and here's how it works, right? To give us some basis to understand the impact when we make certain decisions. So. Any other questions from the board at all? Judy?
Brian, I got a question for you. When you talk about the 5-year plan and planning out, you take into consideration the taxpayers and what this is burden can be on them?
Yep. So we do so both for the tax bill and the utility rate bills. We'll identify median household income generally as the initial threshold. For the utility bills, we go a step further. I don't see why we can apply the same logic to the adding the tax bill to it. But we actually do it by a percentage of population income level. And then what is that cost of that percentage of income? Now, obviously, there are various factors that would go into that. So as to say, we're making an average assumption on usage, and there's a volumetric portion to your utility bill. So to make it your own, right, you'd have to kind of apply the rates that are there, or whether that's your, value of your home or how much water sewer you use to correctly apply that. But we do provide that in terms of impact to what we label as average, and that's taking historical billing information and historical assessment information. So.
That's great. Thank you.
Brian, what about projection and forecasting sections here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we try to implement what we can know at the time. Of course, things like COVID and how that impacts the economy can, for the most part, be unforeseen. I think the same thing could be applied to, any military items, political items as well. But we try to walk through those things at each time that we're providing those projections of things that could happen. What we try to do is look at a sensitivity analysis at the end of the day. And for example, walking through the tax increment district amendment, saying we're not going to put in any economic appreciation. We're just going to say, what if it's only the next development and you get no additional value? What can you afford? So that level of conservatism, we believe, will help. Of course, we can't plan it all. We can't know everything. But that's what we try to do, and make sure that you're well educated in terms of providing what we would believe would be suitable decision framework when you're making those execution items. When we're projecting out 5 years, right, it becomes truer the sooner we are to it, though.
Questions?
Got a question?
Yep. Dave.
Yeah, could you tell us right now what our actual cash is on hand and how much we have for debt currently?
The cash on hand, I don't have control of your bank accounts, but
Yeah, one day.
he would.
On hand for what purpose, I guess?
Yeah,
Public information,
No, I mean, like, there's,
Like general account or like
general account?
general account.
I mean, well, I gotta go.
second. For the debt, I know that was, I think of the last time that we presented on that. The village was at about 30% of its total debt limit. Under the state constitution, you're limited to 5% of your total equalized value. I can't remember the, X millions of dollars of debt outstanding. I could certainly come back to the next village or provide that to staff. And if you wanted to ask staff, they could have it tomorrow morning. We have that in our database. I just don't have it on.
Okay, and I agree.
I think you can also, that I think when our auditor was here, she also had that on a graph. So I think that was on the last
Yeah.
board meeting. That might be on there as well, just if you were curious, because you can pull up the agenda or the minutes and the supporting material that she provided showed like even where, I'm sorry,
That was which meeting?
Last meeting.
last meeting, I believe.
July 15th.
What was it?
It was July 15th when the auditor presented. It was like the first presentation on
So
the.
it's July 15th, yeah. And she plotted it against like like other municipalities and showed kind of where we were, kind of graded it relative to that.
Okay,
I got it right down. Village general checkings, $540,104.06. The investment accounts got $4,001,894.69. Community development's got $1,351.26. The internal Fisher bequeathment fund, the money that we actually have on hand for that is $1,001.39. The investment account for that has $1,668,601.82. The economic development EDC has $9,183.69. And the library has $43,392.40, and they have a CD for $20,024.18. And they also have a Madison Community Foundation account with, I don't know exactly how much it is. That's under the. That's I heard it was 2,000, but I could be wrong.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Brian? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So next is an annual consultant review for GEC.
Good evening, Corey Anderson, General Engineering Company. I'm the zoning administrator for the village of Belleville.
Chris Michaels, I'm the building inspector.
We've been doing the zoning administration for the village since 2008. Another person in that role until 2015. I took over the zoning administrator. Building inspection, we don't have the exact year, but I think mid 2000s is when we started the building inspection. So can't provide any projections, but we're kind of reactionary. I review conditional use permits, rezones, variances, site plan reviews for the planning commission. Chris does all the building permits for the village.
Day-to-day inspections, building permits, complaints, all kinds of stuff like that.
Questions from the board?
I want to know if you actually go out and check the permits
Check. Which permits?
to make sure the permits are up. People are, when you see something going on.
We try to, and they're supposed to be posted on all new houses and every remodel job. I can't go to every one, I guess, but we try to make sure they're posted.
Do you drive around and check on things throughout the village?
I'm here probably, I'm only supposed to be here one day a week, but I do live in town, so I do drive around and check things.
And I realize you're only here for 3 hours, but being here only 3 hours, you can't be in the office for 3 hours and then leave early. And people come down to see you and you're not here and they've taken a day off from work.
Well, if I'm not here, I'm around. And if I'm not in the office, I'm out doing inspections.
Accessible by cell phone and emails.
Is it available for people?
Yeah, I have business cards. Somewhere.
We need more of them, but I will say we give out Chris's phone number more than anybody else's. So, and he probably knows.
As far as a new home construction, when they pull
No,
up,
I'm talking, there's old homes and stuff that,
I just wanted to state that if on a new home for a building permit, there's at least 7 inspections that are required on that, and those are all documented in our program.
there's a lot of remodeling stuff going on in the village that people don't have permits. I'm just wondering if you're out cruising around.
Well, I can't catch everything, but I try to stay on top of things. I mean, if I was full-time here, I could do that, but I'm not. I'm here a couple days a week. I'm here probably more than I should be, because just to keep up with the way things are going, I'm here more than I should be. I mean, whatever needs to be done, we're doing it. So.
Questions, Kurt?
The basis of your zoning codes, is that based on Dane County or Greene County?
The village's zoning code? Yeah, the village has their own zoning ordinance.
But that's based on Dane County, or is it based on Greene?
No,
I thought the minimum requirements,
no, you, within the village boundaries, you have your own zoning code and no other zoning code surrounding.
is that different than Dane County?
What's that?
Is that different than Dane County or Greene County? Is it specific?
The zoning ordinance? Yes.
It is.
Yep.
Really? Okay. A developer told me something different, so, okay.
So are the building permits issued for the year?
New houses are good for 2 years.
Okay,
Remodeling permits are good for a year.
so once you issue them for remodeling, do you ever go back and look when that date's coming up that it should be done, that you should go out and check?
We have an automatic email that goes out if they haven't called inspection in 3 months. I get an automatic email saying you haven't finalized it out or you haven't called inspection in 3 months, so you need to call me. So that's
So
how
you
we kind of
wait
keep
for
track.
something back from them.
What's that?
What you're saying, you wait for something to come back from the person that took the permit out?
If they don't call me, we send them an email saying that you need to call us. Your permit's about to expire, that you need to call us and get us over there.
Program is automated to send them an email after so many days.
And then do they have to reapply to get that building permit again for another year if they haven't done any work?
If it expires, we can go that way. I mean, if it's gonna be a couple weeks, we would just let that go. If it's gonna be a couple months or 6 months, then they would have to reapply.
Gonna test that. I got one of those emails just the other day.
They go out every day.
It's, I mean, I have to pull permits as a general contractor. So automatically I have to start communicating with Chris. And we had a project where we were waiting on a HVAC subcontractor to do his thing and the communication was a little slow. And I got that email that said, hey, what's going on? And I was able to give Chris a quick email back and we got everything wrapped up. So it works. It's a system that works. As long, and I don't know if it's the same for a homeowner or homeowner. I assume it is.
I got one too.
Yeah. So it was, yeah. So as long as you're going through the proper channel, pulling the permits, the system. And
Yep.
Well, Chris, in any other way other than as the building inspector, and it's always been fairly easy to get a hold of. Just to set your mind at ease.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do Tony first, I'll get you in a second, Maxine. Tony?
So I had a conversation with you, Chris, a couple months ago. And I asked you a question and I'd like an answer. Why do you wait for 30 days to red tag something if you find something that's wrong on a job site? Isn't that an automatic red tag?
Yeah, I will. If something's not done right, I can leave a red tag. I don't wait 30 days.
Well, that's not what you told me when I talked to you over the phone, so.
I don't remember a conversation, but if something's wrong, I will leave a red tag or call the builder or call the person, say, hey, this needs to be done. I would try to work with them. But yeah, I will leave a red tag that's wrong.
See?
So if I understood you correctly, that you will contact the person and say that you need to call us. What happens if they don't? What do you do to follow up? Anything?
I mean, their number, their email is usually on the permit when they apply for it.
Yes.
So I'll try to follow up. If I get that email, it goes to me too. So if I get that email, if they don't contact me, I'll try to contact them.
But if they don't contact you at all and say, he didn't come to look at anything, so I'm not gonna contact him back. What do you do to follow up? Anything?
Well, like I say, I'll try to call them or email them. I mean, if they don't get back to me, I can't chase them down. I don't know.
So basically, if they don't call you back, nothing happens to them. Okay. Thank you for
Yep.
the understanding.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I stopped in last week to find out about getting a permit for something I needed. Staff gave me your phone number because they were out of cards. I called you, left you a message, and you called me back the next day and answered my questions. So I was happy.
I got cards on order.
Just out of curiosity, we've got, our contract is it basically coming out of the general fund? Is that how we pay for this essentially? Are there any impact fees associated with building permits for like developers, et cetera? Or does that just?
No, so it's different depending. So for building permits, it's entirely self-funded, with one exception. So our current, until September 1st, anyway, with the new fee schedule, our current fee schedule is basically just 10% markup from what GEC charges us. So we just make 10% above what they charge, and the village keeps. So along with the issuance of new building permits for new homes or whatever. So Chris is the one that calculates like the fee in lieu of tree planting or any impact fee, like we would be the one that marks that for collection and actually like gets the check for the building permit and all those other things. So if we want him to go check out an issue, a code compliance issue with the property, that's on the hourly that we get charged. And so that is, I think we had $1,000 that we haven't used any of it yet this year, budget in the general fund to do since we don't have a dedicated code compliance person. For zoning administration, the way we do it right now, which is a little different the way it was, is that we assign, depending on the project, the size of the project, we may assign it its own, general ledger line to track expenditures from GEC, but that all gets billed back to the project. So KID right now sends invoices out monthly for not only developments that are ongoing, but any other permits that come in that require GEC review. So all that stuff now, the vast majority of it should be passed through and billed back to the applicant.
So generally, would it be safe to say the cost relationship the village has with GEC is directly passed? We're actually sort of profitable, I suppose, like a 10% markup, but there's probably some fixed costs just to have them contracted. Or no, it's just the markup. It's just the markup.
It's all based on the work.
And then the hourly, if we were to use that, that would be cost.
Correct. Yeah, that's how.
Any other questions for GEC at all?
Like to make a motion for staff to look for a new building inspector.
Yeah, I would say that has is an agenda item for next time.
With action, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is annual consultant review for Stafford Rosenbaum. Do we get a markup for you too, Rick? I hope that's the case.
All right.
Tough crowd.
Yes. So my name is Rick Manthe. I'm with Stafford Rosenbaum. So we are the village's attorney. So Stafford Rosenbaum, a little bit about us. We're a firm based out of Madison. We also have an office in Milwaukee, but about 60-ish total attorneys, I think, at this point. So my primary focus is municipal law. So I represent municipalities all over the state, cities, villages, towns, counties, special purpose districts. But we have a full service law firm. So we have people that specialize in environmental issues, trust and estates. We have an election and political law section now that helps out with election issues. So basically anything under the sun, we can do business, real estate, the specialty areas. So I'm actually we've got a government law unit in our practice as well. I have like a practice team. So lots of different specialties. And I think that really is good for providing services to communities because we have a lot of experts that we can sort of pass things along to that, for instance, like a trust and state issue, I can pass it off to a different attorney that can provide expertise on that. It's something that I'm not as well versed in. So we're trying to provide as efficient services as possible. So I think we've been working with the village for decades, honestly. It's been a long time. Gary, you might know more than I do. But we also, we provide a lot of service to the village, a lot of sort of just general municipal work, I guess. So whether it's writing ordinances, drafting resolutions, just answering questions from board members or staff. We also provide prosecution services. So there's an attorney in my firm that whenever the police issue a ticket and the person contests it, it goes to the municipal court. So my firm would be in charge of prosecuting that offense. So they would either try to resolve it through the municipal court system or take it to trial. I think that's very rare. I think all in all, we only deal with a few of those every quarter. Traffic tickets, zoning violations, things like that. So not a huge part of of what we do, but significant in making sure that ordinances are enforced. Other than that, we provide sort of development guidance. We've been working on a lot of projects, I guess, over the past year in the village. I think that's going to be ramping up here in the future. So I guess that's just a summary of the services that we provide, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board at all?
I've heard grumblings about the bequeathment and what is allowable to purchase with that money. Have you provided comments to the village in regards to that?
I think we have an agenda.
Yeah, there's an agenda item. Yeah, one of my colleagues did provide a memo to the board. I don't remember when it was, but I can also share that with you.
That's the real estate expert.
Trust and estate person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Questions?
Just a dumb question, where the assessor last week were saying that they were gonna pay a 10% bump up. Are you guys are they on like a salary? Are you on a machine or are you hourly?
We do hourly. So I guess I don't know, I can go into the whole fee structure.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, we're hourly.
We budget for it every year. That's part of our operating budget. We try to compare it to the previous year and sometimes we're over and sometimes we're not.
And like with the,
They're out there.
what I'll say with like the development work, we charge it all back to the developers. So like my time putting together like contracts with developers, like they're paying for it. It's not.
Thank you, thank you.
One of the reasons why this is a fairly long agenda is Rick is not able to come to every meeting. So there was quite a few items that needed his, I knew you guys would have questions for him on there. So that's why it's a fairly longer meeting than normal.
Welcome.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate the update. Okay, so next is the public hearing related to an ordinance creating section 600-8-A park impact fees. So I will now open the public hearing on park impact fees at 7:10 PM.
The public hearing was published in the Postmaster Recorder on July 18th, 2024. I've included the affidavit of publication as part of the agenda packet. It was also posted at Village Hall, Belleville Public Library, and on the village website on Friday, August 2nd.
So this is the time for the public to provide input on the aforementioned topic. After the public hearing closes, the village board will discuss and potentially take action. We will now take comments from the public. Please wait to be recognized and state your name for the record. So any public input on impact fees? Bonnie?
Apparently August 2nd, I didn't look. Just got my stuff off and I didn't read whatever this park impact fees, is that like what you're gonna charge for the parks and what is that?
Sure. So that's a developer fee. So whenever somebody builds a new house,
Okay, it's got nothing to do with the parks.
nope, it's.
It absolutely has to do with the park.
Well, it's to do with the parks in the sense that when you create like residential subdivisions, it's going to increase the service usage of parks. So the park impact fees are meant to sort of help improve the parks to handle the increased usage or to develop new parks.
So this will be used for parks and not put in the general fund.
It can only be used for parks, and if it's not used for parks within 8 years, it's refunded to the developer.
And it has to be.
Yeah.
Okay,
Quite honestly, didn't need the whole thing much. So how are the impact fees changing, Tom?
So I think the amount is slightly lower than it was previously, but I'm Ian, keep me honest here, and I'm sure Rick will as well, but the way I understood it is the state requires us to have named projects that are aligned with the park impact fees. And we got to a point where we were doing that. So we stopped charging this for a brief period of time. We're finally crossing the finish line with this to basically be able to implement that again. So as developers get permits and put in for developments, they'll pay these fees to basically fund the projects that we've named to basically do this. The projects went through the park committee first and then came to the board after that a few meetings ago. So the park committee certainly had input on this, but it includes things for updating Community Park, updating Sugar River Park. There's everything from like playground equipment, potentially sidewalks installing in Sugar River. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that it includes a lot of the various different parks around.
So is this an improvement fee or is it in lieu of fee?
It's an impact fee. So basically by new development coming in, we assume that that is going to impact the use of all of our parks, and it allows us to fund what that impact would be by improving those parks or making it better for people that moving into town or new residents.
And it's separate from like the subdivision fee in lieu of dedication. So like when you add a new subdivision, there are like park dedication requirements, but you can say instead of dedicating a new park, just give us money. So this would be separate from that.
That's a whole different
What
thing.
will we used to call the improvement?
Yeah, the park improvement fee.
Okay.
Any other questions from the public relative to this? Judy?
We ran into a problem with the paying money instead of dedicating land.
whole different topic entirely.
Now, this is the impact fee for that, say, subdivision that's.
So to kind of help explain that a little bit, because I think I know where you're going. It is for the new development, so it can't be retroactive to the older development, so it will not impact what was on the west side. That process is done, it's gone, but it's the impact. So that fee we need to have a good, clear conscience of why it's impacting that specific area. So like, if a new development over here, in Greene County that we were talking about on.
Right,
We would have a hard time making any case that anything on the Greenview Park or the Blaser Park would impact.
Correct.
But a trail that gets us from downtown to that new subdivision, yeah, that would be qualified, or issue of sidewalks and all that. So it's, and I hope, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's more of, it's for that new subdivisions. And part of the problem and the rush of this is if that development says, hey, we're turning our paperwork in, game's over, we can't issue it to them. We have to have this in place before that development comes in and asks for to get us to qualify as their project. So this has to be in place before that even comes in. So with that new development.
Annexation.
Including, well, annexations, but once they start that development.
Right.
And say, here's the plat maps, here's all this is what we want to build. Once it's the formal, here you go. This has to be in place. So that's why we need to get this in place now before we start seeing that 250 people developments, these things that are coming up that pipeline. Does that help?
Any other questions from the public?
Maxine? Well,
How much are the impact fees right now?
we don't have any right now. For this, we have it for water and sewer, like when they're, we have impact fees for water and sewer, but we do not have any currently for park impact. That's why we're,
The last part, in fact, you.
$759?
669, but we stopped charging that, I would say 3 months ago,
And why?
because it was unenforceable.
We didn't have,
Couldn't hear you.
it was not enforceable.
we didn't have direct projects tied to it.
Now, the new developments coming in, have we missed our deadline on?
That's why we're approving.
That's why it's being approved tonight.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so any suggestions as what they're gonna be for the new development coming in?
There, what's the number?
In the document.
$1,059.
Yeah, so $10 less
Why $10 less? when
because
inflation
the
is-
project's
$100.
There's a whole assessment.
I'm sorry, what? Ian?
Instead of 1169.
Oh, I think she said.
So $1,057.56 is the new fee per unit new development.
And that's lower than before, right?
Yes.
Is there a reason why it's lower?
That was the Parks Committee needed to come up with projects and they came up with their desired projects and that's just what equaled a little bit less. It could have equaled a little bit more. It just came out to just a little less.
I see.
We tried to keep it similar though. And when we got those firmer numbers, we're like, this is that.
I think that just to talk about the park committee, when we talked about it, the balancing act is, as Rick mentioned, the projects have to get done. So if we literally said, oh, we're going to do this project and we didn't do it, we have to pay the money back to the developer. So you don't want to overextend and say, hey, we're going to collect all this and then not be able to, and then we got to send the money back and it's one less thing that we can do to get done. So it's also like, there's certainly lots to do, but it's also, I don't want to say we were rushed. We did kind of do this as part of our capital budget conversation. If I remember, we stayed late that night. Tried to crank through it as best we could.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Can you state your name just because she's taking?
Cynthia Keeper.
Yep, perfect.
So these impact fees for that specific, they don't have to actually, if they do like the executor, they don't have to have a green space over there with a swing set and a little park. They can eliminate that.
No, that's two different things. So if and when that happens, there's actually going to be park space. I think the developer's already committed to that.
Even if they propose not, the plan commission would likely push back and say, no, you've got to have green space relative to that. That's a whole different thing.
Then the park impact fees, and actually I think that might even be one of the projects is to update that park as well. So that's part of the funding from this, as well as I know community park is, a lot of money goes into that and a lot of money would go into Sugar River Park as well, because we, as Gabe just mentioned, we can actually justify an impact to community park even for people that live south of town, right? Because they could very easily use and get to community park.
So at some point, if something went out, you could like do the tunnel there, you put it toward that or something, or not?
That's a state.
Yeah, the tunnel's actually state
funded already.
Yeah, that's already funded by the state, so.
Which is getting completed, hopefully next year.
Next, okay, thank you, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
And then to highlight a little bit, the plan commission is that great spot to go for any developments and all that kind of stuff. We have things online too, and I'm happy, I have my card up there. I'm happy to meet at any time and ask questions, because part of the department that happy to help.
Good question. Any other questions or comments relative to the park impact fees? So I have to say, are there any other
Two more times.
More times? Okay. Well, I didn't say comments the first time, so I'll say it 3. Are there any other comments? Are there any other comments? Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I now close the public hearing on park impact fees at 7:21 PM. Okay, so I'm correct. Okay. I'm going to take a motion to relieve the village clerk of her statutory duties. We're going to move into closed session. We will come back into open session, but we're moving this around because there are some things that we need to discuss in closed session before we can take action in session. So potentially.
Oh.
Takes. And this is a difficult item. Could be quick, it could be.
And you don't have to leave, we will go.
Yeah,
into
we're
the
gonna
back.
go into the back room.
Yeah.
Other things. So. Bye, Connie.
We need a motion.
I need a motion.
I'll motion that we relieve the clerk of her statutory duties temporarily.
Give that to Nick.
That was close. Oh, no, you're not getting that lucky, Maren.
We didn't vote on it either, Maren, so I would have voted to keep you.
Say that, yeah.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Gary, seconded by Maxine to temporarily relieve the village clerk from statutory duties. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh,
Yeah, we gotta move to the closed session first.
So you have to do it first. We'll go back here once we're ready.
Okay, so the village board will enter into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 subsection 1 subsection C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation.
Hey, can we have a little quiet? We're not actually in closed session yet, and I have to hear this, even though I'm technically relieved from my duty.
Promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The village board may reconvene into open session to take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. That's related to discuss and consider chief of police annual review. Also, the village board, Belleville Village Board will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin.
No, we'll come back.
Do it again? Okay. So, okay, so Deb is making a motion. I'm gonna give Tony a second. He left it first. Okay, and we have to do a roll call on this one.
And that just do them all, Fritz things.
You could just do them all together.
Rick's gonna let you do it all together.
Took your mind. Now I'm gonna read that one.
Keep reading.
So I'm gonna go back to you two to make the motions, just not that you, if you're open to.
Yeah.
Careful. So the second part is Village Board of Belleville will enter into closed session for.
I'm sorry, we need quiet in here, please, while we're making the motion. You guys can talk all you want after they go into the other room.
I'm trying to read as quickly as I can. I apologize, folks. So, and I can talk loudly, but I can,
I can be live.
you don't want to hear me yell motions. It's not fun. The Village of Belleville Village Board will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 subsection 1 subsection E for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified businesses. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, the village board may reconvene into open session to take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. And this is related to discussing and considering next steps for RFP proposals and discussing and considering Colt Drive LLC development agreement.
Motion, we go into closed session for that, please. Deb
Second.
is, and Tony's seconding it, so.
Okay, we'll roll call vote.
Yes, please.
Trustee Bannon,
Yeah.
Campbell, Kazmar,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Service,
Yes.
President Larson,
Yes,
passes.
during closed session, thank you.
7:25.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.